In this video, we will be doing a second time review of the AI Gen XII Expert Advisor by Mr. Denis Kurnev. This video is sponsored by Prosperity Algo and our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Do you want to make 100+% annual returns through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout? Then click the link in the description. So this bot has been around for several months by now, and a few months back we actually made a review of it. And at the time, this was the #1 bot in the MQL5 marketplace, and it had effectively a 5-star rating. However, quite a bit of things have transpired since then, and there's almost been a bit of a fall from grace from this bot. So I wanted to go and kind of do a second review where we can see what changed, what happened, and how has the strategy actually developed since our last review. So if you guys first start off here in our old review, you can see that the previous bot gave such a beautiful straight equity curve in backtests that to us it was fairly obvious that it was definitely a scam. However, in the comments section, quite a few people were saying different things, that it was actually quite a good bot or that we didn't know what we were talking about. So there was definitely a pretty significant fan base for this bot. However, a few months later, there was actually a bit of a blow up. If we go to this video from René Balke, this was just 2 months later, he was covering that there was a massive drop in the equity curve of this bot. And around this time is when stuff started to change. Effectively, it had been performing quite well for quite a few people with a rather high risk strategy, but then everything started to fall apart. Likely there was some degree of martingale mechanism or some sort of very aggressive recovery built in. So when ultimately its odds went against it and it hit that recovery mechanism or it hit that martingale, it started to really do very poorly for quite a few people. And now quickly, if we can go over some of the reviews here, we can actually see that people started mentioning their experiences with the bots, and there is quite a few 1-star reviews kind of outlining that. And since then, the developer has actually gone back and issued a new bot, which is not running the same heavily manipulated backtest, but is instead showing kind of a completely different strategy. And there's actually quite a few complaints here too, saying that he's updated it, he's taken the AI out, and now it's showing losses. But I venture that the previous backtest was actually heavily manipulated, because there's no such thing as a beautiful, smooth, continuous upward sloping expert advisor, that this new update might actually show us how this bot works. So let's quickly finish up here on this page just to see if we get an idea of the actual trading strategy which it's showing. And here's simply one thing he added, which is realistic testing. So trades executed during testing fully match those in live trading. So that's actually quite neat. So he's kind of changed his sales strategy, going from pure manipulation to perhaps something which is a bit more honest, and curious as to what's going on. Now, before jumping into MT5, let's quickly check out the signal here. And we can see to date that it's had very good returns in January. However, this is so few trades, we have no idea if this is statistically significant or not. He simply put in a small deposit and took some fairly high leverage trades here to get a very impressive looking signal. However, we can't really ascertain much from that. Okay, so we can now see that I've taken the liberty of downloading this expert advisor and running a quick back test. And unfortunately, it appears that despite what I was reading in the comments, Mr. Dennis is back to his old tricks, and this is obviously a very manipulated backtest. Effectively, he's having one loss over the period of 1 year and turning $10,000 into $40,000. So he does seem to have made it a bit less ridiculous. I believe it was far more aggressive than this in the initial backtest, and he has made it in such a way where it's just not taking that many trades. So perhaps he did it in such a way where effectively he's putting in so few trades he's able to manipulate it a bit more manually without using a history reader. And here we can see that it's actually a very straightforward form of manipulation. He's trading gold, and gold has been trending largely upward for the past year. It's been an extremely bullish trend. So here we can see he's only going long on gold, so he's not taking any shorts, and he's showing a 97% win rate. And here we have also only one loss, which is just significantly larger than the take profit. And I would venture that there's probably some degree of enormous stop loss going on here, because we see this beautiful back test. And now let's actually just go through it to see what's happening. And we are able to see a few trades, and there's no indicators or anything, and they appear to be more mean reverting in nature. Mean reversion, mean reversion. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a hard-coded indicator which is actually driving it. But unfortunately, we can't see much without running a visual backtest. So let me hop into that real quick too. Okay, we can see there's some beautiful lines happening and some flashy lights, but not a particularly sophisticated strategy is seen so far. Let me just get this to run properly. Okay. So all these lines would indicate that perhaps he's trying to use some sort of support and resistance based system. So let me just make sure I'm running everything properly here. We're running on the H1, we're running on the H1, every tick based on real ticks. So nothing too fishy there. So at least what he's trying to represent is that there's some sort of price action support and resistance based strategy here. I believe that's what these lines are meant to indicate. So he's tracing prior highs and prior lows. But realistically, it's just a very simple channel-based system where he's just tracing prior highs and prior lows. And there's no like actual trades which are executing here. And unfortunately, we can't see anything. Let me pause the video quickly to see if it actually executes a trade, and then I'll be able to provide some more context. So it was actually so slow in visual back testing because perhaps their history reading or just because it doesn't trade that frequently, that what I ended up doing was just running a normal back test, but then pulling up the trades report from the back test to be able to ascertain what it's doing. So what we saw in the visual back test was that there's no indicators, and it was meant to be perhaps using some sort of channel-based breakout system because it was continuously, or a channel-based mean reversion system because it was continuously tracing the highs and the lows. However, I wouldn't be surprised if there's just a very simple hard-coded indicator behind it, or perhaps some sort of just very simple history reading or over-optimization because he just cherry-picked 45 trades and put those into the code. And here's what we can see, that there's always just an absolutely enormous stop loss, usually around 40 bucks. And obviously that's why he's just not hitting the stop loss. If he just cherry picks 45 times to place trades, and those trades all have astronomically massive stop losses, he's probably not going to hit it. Here there's one time where he did hit the stop loss, but it's very rare. So if we actually kind of go through and audit the trades, there's not enough trades in this backtest for it to be super statistically significant, because odds are he just cherry picked a certain amount of trades. There's no visible or discernible strategy here. So once again, this is just a scam bot. And I think the fact that we can see that the initial version did blow up and did lose a lot of people money is probably not a great sign. Guys, I would just avoid buying bots from this particular group. It's probably not the best use of your capital. There's plenty of good developers out there, and you'd likely be better off using those. This particular bot so far has no particularly discernible strategy behind it, and it appears to just be cherry picking some data. If there is a real strategy when going live, there does appear to be a decent amount of recovery or high risk martingale style systems that are being used. So likely not the best use of funds. If you guys find something else, please leave me a comment, and always interested to hear from people. But at the moment, I don't think this is a super good bot by any means. Take care. Have a great day.